Video now.
Hey.
Intro. All right.
All right. I like it. Guys, welcome back. You know what it is. NFT Crypto Crew. It's your boy Gig. I am in studio with our boy Tyler. Ladies and gentlemen, we're doing a live Twitter Spaces. So I'm going to go ahead and start that now.
It feels good to be back in the
Feels
studio.
good to be back. Feels great to be back.
Yeah.
We're back in the studio here, guys. I am going to share this real quick. Get a few geckos in here.
You know, just a few gecks.
Throw this in the Discord really quick.
Nothing crazy.
A few geckos should pop in.
We got Darth here.
Getting a few geckos in here.
We're just queuing up the gecko space.
See how it looks. Get some guys in here. I know it's a Saturday night, so there may not be. Hey, Darth.
Yeah, what's going on, Darth?
Nice white gecko.
Yeah.
Very nice white gecko.
For those of you who can't really see what's going on the Twitter, we should really maybe share our phone next time or something. But Darth is waving hello. There's one person in here, Darth. It's a white gecko. It looks pretty sick.
They'll start trickling in here.
He's his festive Christmas hat. He looks pretty dope in that.
They will start trickling in here in a moment. We want to discuss the four factions.
Yeah, that is on everyone's
That
mind.
was on some people's mind today.
Yeah.
Get a few guys in here to talk with us. Gex.
I am my gecko, and my gecko is me.
Let's see if everything's good here.
I think this should be a good discussion, I think. I'd really like to hear what people have to say about the four factions.
Let's hit up the Citadel.
I'm surprised there's not enough concern regarding the Concordians and what their attributes are, but
You only you get those different holders. Some of them are the Conch Maxis. Some of the, let's see what we're looking at here. All right. Got Matt in here. We got Waldman. We're going to have to touch on Waldman's gecko that he just purchased recently.
oh, I saw that. I saw that on the
Huge.
Twitter,
Huge.
the sales bot, and I was like, damn, that's probably that might be the floor neon gek that.
There's only
like that's the
we'll
price,
get
yeah.
into his gecko. We'll get it.
Yeah.
Could you guys just give me some 100s in the chat if you can hear me? Throw some 100s in there. Just making sure everybody can hear what's going on. We're going to discuss the potential utility for the four factions of geckos. I have a few things I want to touch base on. Just give
Got a 100 in there. I think
Yeah.
they can hear us.
maybe give 1 or 2 more minutes to get some geckos in here.
Yeah, the geckos is what do geckos in real life, like, what are they called when they hang out and stuff? Is it just like
A little I don't know, like a school of geckos that
Yeah.
are
like a gaggle of geckos? Is that what it is?
yeah, that I like the alliteration.
Yeah.
Gaggle of galactic geckos.
Yeah.
I want to start to gather a little more consensus from the community about how they would like to see the four faction utility go in the future. There was some discussion in the Discord about this earlier, and what I plan to do, and I'll revisit this as we get more listeners in here. What I plan to do is I'm going to make after the discussion tonight, I'm going to make a Twitter poll and let some community members vote on a few options on how they would prefer to see the utility go moving forward for four factions. We know that, initially they had, very high utility. You needed the four factions to get your Enigma crystal dropped to you. So we know that there was a lot of utility based around the four factions, and we're not totally sure if there will be utility moving forward for the 4 factions, what it will be, and the team. I believe the team wants to get some feedback on that.
Yeah, I have some thoughts myself on this.
So what I plan to do is I'm going to go over. I have a few topics here. I'm going to go over some potential levels of utility. Possible things that they could use these utilities for in the future, and then we'll have some people come in and chat with us. So if you ever want to come in and chat or have something to say or contribute, feel free to put in a request, and I'll of course let you on and we'll chat. This doesn't have to be a one-person discussion. So
yeah, I think that's probably the most important part.
Yeah,
is
me and
hearing from the community on this, hearing what the thoughts are.
We definitely want feedback. I mean, this is kind of more of a discussion to get some feedback. So, I know we don't have a whole lot of people in here, but if we can get a few ideas out there and some of the feedback, we can put that in front of the team and the community, and then we will, get some more ideas moving forward. So,
I'm looking forward to the discussion, but I'm just so distracted by that sick neon gecko that was just purchased.
You're talking about Zachary Waldman's neon
I'm
hog?
talking about his.
He just hops in the Discord the other day. He goes, "We're all getting hyped. We're ranting and raving. We're like, somebody just bought that neon hog. There's only 10 in the collection." He goes, "Yep, guys, I had to do it. Yeah. I had to do it. I've been eyeballing it all day. I got no work done. I've been collecting soul."
Someone commented or made a tweet about it. It was like, he was like, "I like this purchase. It might be the floor right now for this neon hog."
We got
2,000 soul.
We got Waldman connecting here. If you wanna, before we get started, if you wanna, brief. I know you're kind of a big name now in the geckos. If you wanna introduce yourself really quick and tell us about this new gecko, you can feel free.
Yeah, man. Well, my name's Zach. I don't know. Not really anything special. I just had some extra money, and I was talking to people in the Citadel, especially Pace. I'm sure most of you guys know Pace, and just kind of look for Pace and Trap for a lot of advice. I know they have a lot of geckos, and they were the other two with most of the. I think each one of them has a neon og as well. And I was talking to that electric ant kid, the kid that had it before for a while, and he had gotten it a little while ago for 105, and like everybody in the Citadel knew that 105 was the steal right off the bat. Like you said, there's only 10, so it went on sale, and it was kind of just, I looked at it more of an investment. I mean, like everybody in this community seems to just have so much fun. Like anytime someone new joins, like half of the community welcomes them, and I was like, this is the one chance I was going to get at it. And I wasn't really messing with my crypto anyway, so it's just kind of looking at it as just diversifying a little bit, and I don't know what other place to do it.
That's such a good perspective on it. I mean, really, the way you approach buying. I mean, did you like when you say Citadel? I'm assuming you're talking about the Neon Citadel. I thought that you're not allowed in there unless you had a Neon to begin with. How did you get that info?
I have one other Neon as well. I got So when I got my first Neon, it was like when we first started tanking, somebody dropped it down to like 40. And I bought it, and as soon as I bought it, Trader Cos goes, "I cannot believe somebody just got a Neon for 40." And now, of course, everything's kind of down a little bit. But that was kind of my thought process. I mean, like everybody saw what we had the ability to do. The floor was up at 60. Now, just because of a few bad months after a really hot start, everybody was freaking out. So I was like, you just got to kind of take risks when other people are fearful. So that was my thought process, and this is the one chance. Like you said, there's only 10 in the collection, so it was now or never.
I think based on the community, and I mean, I've been very active in the community, obviously, I know that neons and obviously are very sought after, and then I know that there's a lot of demand for the augs as well. So I really think
look so cool.
Yeah, they look really cool. So I really think the neon augs is definitely one of the most sought after geckos. So
And
that's a
even
solid
like
that's a
even
solid buy.
the other attributes on him too,
Thanks,
like
man.
they all go together. Like the head and it has those dangly little magnet, and so is his necklace and his armor. You know,
everybody, every other like neon og makes fun of the gimp suit. Is what Pace calls it. And I was like, come on, it doesn't look that bad. They make fun of the armor.
Yeah, okay, I see. They want they want to hype up their neon ogs a little bit.
Of course.
So we can maybe I mean, if I'm gonna try to steer this a little bit into the 4 faction utility. So we just spoke with Zach. Zach and anyone else, feel free to chime in with any ideas or anything as well.
Yeah. In the meantime, feel free to send a request.
Yep, send a request, or I'll pause momentarily, and you can give people time to respond if they want.
was just wondering yourself, Gig. I mean, what did you think about it? Personally, my thoughts are that I think the 4 factions is a really, really good idea in the beginning, especially with the crystal and the dropping like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now I think the floor is, I don't know, I feel like the floor is too high for that. I mean, which is not a problem, I guess. Like there's other NFT projects that have, higher floors, much higher. But depending on, the demand, if the demand cannot, meet having those geckos, I don't know if it makes sense for me.
Yeah.
At least
Well,
personally.
the floor actually, relatively, the floor is actually pretty low in comparison. Like I know a lot leading up to the 4 factions, or leading up to the crystal drop. The floor was actually going a lot higher than it is now. So this actually may be a good chance for people to acquire all 4 factions now that we kind of have seen.
I'm with you on that, Gig.
Yeah,
100%. Like it's a lot lower than it was at first when like they announced that crystal drop that you needed for. I mean, that was when it was at what 50 around. So
yeah,
I mean,
it got all the way
actually
up
the
there.
best time.
Yeah. I think I have 3 options here that I plan on putting in the poll. I have high utility. I'm going to see what people prefer. I have high utility, some utility, and then no utility. I think it would be great if they at least kept some utility for the 4 factions.
Definitely. I agree with that.
That was a very, very, very important thing in the beginning of the project. I mean, it was required, and people put so much work into getting these factions, and we have such a good group of people holding their geckos long term that I think it would only make sense to keep some sort of utility for the 4 factions. Does anyone else agree with that? And we got Antsy up here. A couple other people.
What's up, man? Yeah, I completely agree with you, by the way.
Okay.
Some utility for sure. It's got to be something.
Yeah. And I mean, what I have listed here for potential things, I have, maybe we have spaceships come, and I'm just spitballing ideas, right? We have spaceships coming up, spaceship drop, pieces of the spaceship, maybe the if you hold 4 factions, you get a special spaceship piece, maybe you get a colorful piece that is only dropped to holders of 4 factions, something like that. Or maybe you get an exclusive item that you can use in the racing game or something that is only given out to 4 faction holders, or maybe your team of 4 geckos has a little bit of an edge in certain parts of the racing aspect. I know each faction has their own little attributes, their own little skills, so if you're able to get 4 of those together, maybe that gives you some sort of edge.
Yeah.
Moving forward, in the game and with some of the lore and utility they're gonna put out.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, and maybe even like just like you said, kind of like toward the racing mindset.
Yeah,
I don't think it should be something where it's like personally, at least I'd love to hear other people's thoughts, but I don't think it's something where it's like you need the 4 factions to get the crystal in order to be able to use a spaceship, like to progress in the storyline anymore.
Yeah,
I think it should be you had the 4 factions, so now you have like an additional booster or something. You can now like your airdrop,
some sort of bonus.
Yeah, which helps in a way with the storyline, but is not completely necessary. I'd say
because we want to we want to encourage new holders, you know, even if they're just getting one gecko, you know, because we obviously know not everyone can afford 4 geckos, you know. So we obviously want to encourage, we want to balance new holders, I would say, with, but also rewarding some of our OG holders and people who are sought out after those 4 factions of geckos. I'm going to let Matt G speak a little bit here. Just getting him in here in a second. If you have anything to say, go ahead. Or if you just wanted to be there.
Oh, sorry, my phone cut out. Yeah, so just my general thoughts. I haven't seen anyone in the garage actually complain about going back to 4 faction sets. It was really just, the complaint was the devs changed everything up. And part of that was like they couldn't get the technical functionality of the website to work. But I think the only problem I would see with 4 factions is we would need guidance on kind of like order of importance. Because for the past month, we've been talking about Gecko and a crystal.
Okay.
So if it pivots to 4 factions, is 4 factions greater than 1 crystal as far as potential rewards, or is it just some on the side?
That's a really good point.
The one other thing, which I think has the potential to be kind of big, which I think Anstey mentioned it on the last Spaces, is if we could somehow get functionality for single gecko holders to be able to team up to form a full faction with others.
That would be pretty neat.
Yeah, and I think that would really bring a group aspect and bring people together a whole lot easier. Now, programming that's pain in the ass and difficult, but it's just an idea.
Okay. I think we have to determine, like, so what the reward, like, what is the reward or the utility in having a whole faction or all 4? I'm sorry, what's
whole
the
gaggle,
and having all 4 factions, right? Having a whole squad, I guess we want to call them, right? Yeah. And I feel like it should be significant, like when everything was happening, and like when I bought a whole second faction. I'm minute 5, and then I bought 3 more just so that I had 2 factions. Like, you know, when things were going up, and so I fully expected a crystal to be worth the sum of 4 geckos in a faction, and so that obviously the market sets the price, so that didn't happen. But like, again, when you look at just the initial investment there, like, you know, minting is minting, but like, you know, just have 2 factions that, you know, when they're the floor 60, like that should have been some big value. So now, like, you know, we're here, and what the hell can we do? Because we don't want to. What we don't want to do, right? So I literally have a fucking piece of paper out right now, and I'm like, I feel like that guy with the strings, like, you know, going towards.
You're putting all the numbers together.
We know exactly what you're talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about, Nancy.
Hey, you're right. Like
we've done a couple of those. You know, we've been banging our head against the wall, thinking about what could be speculated, what could be next. So yeah, we know what you're talking about.
And that's why we're here. You know, we're trying to gauge from the community, you know, and then allow the team some feedback on, you know, what a majority of the community would prefer to see, you know. And it looks like we would like we said, we would like some utility, but also Matt brought up a great point. We want some sort of concrete idea on what level of utility will you have with the 4 factions? You know, is it going to be worth your while to grab 4? Is it going to be more important to have a crystal? You know, like, we want to try to get that stuff laid out So we're not kind of in the dark about what we want to get.
And I mean, Matt just brought up a really good point. I think the problem really is not so much the cost of the geckos, or what. I think there's some unanimous decision so far, at least, or just discussion about there should be some utility, at least something, whether it be high or middle. There's some utility to it, but there needs to be a clear-cut guide to, okay, if you have a gaggle of geckos, the full four factions, is that completely necessary to move on with the storyline of what the Galactic Geckos are, or is it just going to add bonuses that will help you, even better move forward with the storyline? But you don't necessarily need all four for that. And if that's the case, do you stop at 4 and say, well, if you have 3, you don't have the full. Obviously, you don't have 4, so you can't get all of it, but you get something for having 3 different ones or something like that.
Yeah.
Yo, what about so a full squad equaled a crystal. So what about and this is just a very for starters, right? For starters, if you have a full squad, you get a rare ship part, just like you get a rare ship part for holding a crystal.
Yeah, man. That's something that's something that came to my mind initially, is like, okay, it'd be cool to have a 4-faction ship part, it'd be cool to have a colorful looking ship body that has kind of the colors of each faction tied into it somehow or something, and obviously those would be higher valued on the market due to them only being dropped to 4 faction holders, so that would be that was something that came to mind. Something like that would be cool, and then it would give the ability for other people to, maybe buy this aftermarket like they did with crystals.
Yeah.
You can get a crystal now regardless of if you had the 4 factions, but I think airdropping something like that or including something like that would it would incentivize getting the 4. But it also wouldn't require you getting the 4. It would.
Right. I got one.
Yeah.
So how about Matt talked about team ups and stuff, and one of the things that I've been intrigued by from what they dropped, and again, the first thing I really like when they dropped is they said this is fluid. I think it's the first time that the team mentioned this is a fluid thing, and I really appreciate that, because everybody was hanging on every word that they said before, and it was whatever you said, that's it. But what if you guys are gonna hate me because it's Concordian talk? But what if instead, if you had a faction of 4, instead of having to lock a gecko up in a ship, you could actually lock a Concordian up in a ship?
And I think that, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly the utility I've been looking for.
Okay, I think you're talking Tyler's language now.
It's about time.
And then it goes to Matt's point where a team up makes sense now. All right, so now if you team up with somebody, you don't have to take your gecko out of play. Your gecko is still in play if you need liquidity real quick, and your conch has some kind of utility because it's worth less than a gecko, but if it's locked up, who the hell cares?
I think you might have just nailed you just nailed it right there. No, really, because
you're talking Tyler's language with the conchs.
Really, what if because you have the conchs given, as a little bonus, and it has been said just so everyone's aware if they're not, but the supposedly no utility for these things, but
for now,
it's someone's opinion.
As
of
for
now,
we're fluid now. We're fluid.
But the thing is, the Concordians have their own attributes, their own rankings, everything, and they're just kind of sitting there as little trinkets, right? But if you plan on having these spaceship races and things like that, it would make sense, in my opinion at least, to either add a Concordian to the spaceship as an additional from the 4, and then based on that's attributes, you get an extra speed, agility, or steering, or whatever the hell they're doing. And if you had the 4 factions, maybe you unlock that ability to include a Concordian in your little spaceship.
That's definitely something. That's something they could do. Like we said, they could do the drop. They could do the Concordian thing we just talked about. There's definitely different options.
I don't know that we can have a conversation about what could happen in a game that we know nothing about
Yeah.
Like that's that's kind of like I don't want to even get into the conversation about utility in a game yet because we don't really have enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of we don't have a whole lot of info about how the game's going to be, but we are gathering at the least we are gathering from what I've heard today, and anyone else who wants to come up and speak on this, feel free.
Yeah, feel free to send us requests. I'd love to hear from more community members.
I'm going to take like a moment to let maybe someone come up if they want.
Gig, can I just say one thing real quick?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, back to the 4 faction, we were crushing it when we had the 4 faction requirement. I mean, everything was going smoothly. I mean, you got your bonus if you had the 4 factions. You were guaranteed a crystal. If you didn't have the 4 faction team, you didn't have a guarantee, but you still had a chance. So I mean, we kind of went away from that, but it was working to perfection. And it kind of seems like, and Cred was talking about this a little bit earlier, and it's like, do you want to really gear the project towards weaker hands that are trying to flip a gecko from 5 to 7 soul instead of having people that are trying to collect 4 to get a full faction where the price was soaring to 60 soul? I mean, it kind of seems like going to that one faction just kind of allowed for not necessarily weaker hands, but just like a lower entry level where you had conks doing that. People could get into the project with conks, but then with the geckos, you had to get 4, and that was what you could do to guarantee yourself the next airdrop. And if you didn't want to do that, that's fine. You could take the chance with 1. You had that chance still. So it seems weird that we went away from that when it was working so well. And it could work the same way with the ship. If you had your full team, you were guaranteed a ship part. If you didn't have your full team, you had X% chance. And it either collect them or don't. You can be part of the storyline if you want. You can just hang in the Discord if you want with 1. But with 4, you just kind of got yourself a guarantee. With 1, you just had a percentage.
Yeah, and I like that point you brought up. It's a balance between, do we keep it as a 4 faction barrier of entry, right? Because, I've seen tons and tons of people join the Discord and go, I was finally able to afford a gecko. I'm glad I'm here. I'm part of the community. I'm here for the ride. And a lot of them are only maybe able to afford 1 or 2 geckos.
Yeah.
So it's really opened the doors. This latest price drop has really opened the doors for a lot of new people to join the community. So it's tough. You want to balance. I agree with what Zach said. It was working well, and maybe we had less paper hands, less people who were here to just maybe grab 1 or 2 and flip or something, versus how many people can we onboard to the project with just 1 gecko, you know?
It's such a conundrum because you don't want to, like Zach was saying, you don't want to have just kind of like a weaker hand person, just like a person who's NFT just to do a quick flip. The 4 factions makes you, have to hold on for dear life. And if you're trying to drive value, I guess that's where you want to go. But by doing that, you're kind of limiting the ownership of the unique ownership of these geckos to a very smaller amount of people. And I don't know, it's tough, because it's a give and take here.
Yeah, that's something that I think is benefiting because our project, we're gaining our all-time holder count is on the steady climb. Yeah, which is, I think, is a great metric for how the project's doing and how it's growing. Yeah, obviously floor price fluctuates, but I think unique holder count is potentially a better metric, and ours is trending upwards, right? And when you look at some of the top projects on Solana, you got SMB, you got Degen Apes, you got the Supercoders, you got Aurori, you got Dragons. When you look at the floor price, the Gecko's floor it looks much more appealing at 6 Sol to enter a top 5. If you're coming from ETH, if you're new to NFTs, if you're a big investor, maybe you see, geckos are a little bit cheaper of an entry. Maybe I can get my feet wet with geckos. It's not as big of an entry. So if we make it 4 factions, that floor price goes from 6 to 24.
Yeah. But in doing that, you also, I guess, limit the amount of people, the unique owners, which is that.
Go ahead.
Is exclusiveness bad though? I mean, don't you want
Right.
your project to be exclusive? That's what makes everything valuable with the NFTs, in my opinion. You want to be exclusive.
Yeah.
So.
No, I agree with you. I just think there should be some sort of balance, you know, and the teams right now is going with, I mean, the question is, would you want it to be, them to make it 4 factions to progress in the project?
Yeah.
Would you want that to be the barrier? And I don't know if I mean, obviously everyone has different opinions, and I'll listen to what you guys have to say after this, but I don't know if, you know, I wouldn't have had 3 or 4 or 5 of my friends join in on the Geckos if they had to get all 4 factions. They needed 1 Gecko and 1 crystal, and they were able to get in. It wasn't too crazy. It wasn't a giant purchase for them.
But okay, so I think we're all in agreement that I guess the only problem we have here, if there is a problem, is that we don't really know if because the unique ownership is really the problem here. If you make it too unique, you're only going to have it's going to be exclusive. It will be, but you're only going to limit to it a certain amount of people, which may or may not be a problem. And from the sounds of what Zach was saying, at least I got. And Zach, you can clarify if I'm wrong, or someone else can jump in if they have any thoughts, but is that it might not even be a problem, I guess, if our unique ownership goes down, and is that an issue?
I would agree with that. I mean, I think, like I said, again, I'm just kind of reiterating, but it seems like we're getting flipped by a lot of projects right now. When the 4 faction thing was in place, we weren't. We were a top tier player when the 4 factions were in place, and I'd kind of rather go, you know, a more exclusive route than I would just kind of maximizing as many entries as possible, where I'd rather have, you know, a really, I mean, 20, if you go to 4 factions, it's basically 2,500 each. You know, that's not a small group. It's not like that's limiting it to a lot, but like a small amount of people. 2,500 is still a good amount if you can get that in the community. And if it's 2,500 people that can all afford 4 factions, that's a really strong community.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think, yeah, because we definitely see some of these projects that have a more exclusive community, a larger barrier of entry. You know, they do generally trend upwards pretty well.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
I think it's hard not to agree with that. I mean, we kind of showed that when we were doing the 4 faction, that's what was working. I mean, since we've gone away from that, that's the only time we went down.
And I think the market, I do think the market comes into play a little bit too.
Yeah.
And I do know I know the floor price, you know, the floor price kind of blew up early on, when maybe the market was a little more volatile and a little more violently trending upwards for some projects, combined with the 4 factions, it kind of shot our price upward. So it looks like we definitely have some demand here from the community to make those 4 factions, give them some sort of utility.
I mean, when Ant C brought it up originally, he said that, you know, I don't see why it's not high utility, and brought up some good points. And I didn't think it was noted then, but a lot of people threw some hundreds in the chat, and I think we're all in agreement that there should be some utility. I think it seems from my perspective, at least from the chat, there's this high utility is the answer. Now, if high utility is the answer to this, my follow-up question would be, okay, does that mean every other airdrop coming forward, you need 4 factions? Or like, what's the definition of that? And that might be what Matt was saying in the beginning. There needs to be clear definitions of what exactly that means for us.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, guys. So like, I think that like, I hear you guys say you need this, right? And you need that. Like, I put a chart out a while ago, how like each different thing that you have could be a multiplier of the reward that comes out. So like, let's say, you know, I kind of took a scenario like it was a coin, right? An airdrop coin, and you have this thing, and like if you have, let's just say you have a gecko and a crystal, and then the gecko is the star, right? So so the gecko gets you airdrop 1x airdrop, and then the crystal gives you a 1.2 multiplier, and then the comp maybe gives you a 1.3, maybe a 4 faction gives you a 1.4. Like there's math there, right? It's not that you need a four faction to be a part of it. It's just that with the 4 faction, you're gonna the 4th faction, the comp, the crystal, it becomes a multiplier of the reward.
Gotcha.
And I know that gets a little bit more complicated when you're talking about singular NFTs, and especially when, like Matt said, we want people to team up and we want to, want this community stuff. But I think then you just get into almost rounding up. Let's say we come up with some math, and it's like a gecko and a crystal, and you're at like a 1.3 multiplier, and then if you have a fourth faction, it puts you at a 1.5 multiplier, which rounds you up to 2 of the airdrop that comes out, right? Or a conch gives you another, 0.1 of the multiplier, which could again round up to give you that next whole piece of the airdrop.
You're crunching numbers.
Yeah, he's doing the math. He had the red lines out before doing the pictures together. Remember? So he's got this all figured out.
And I got a pound and a half brisket burrito in front of me, and I was trying to get this all out so I could just chew and listen.
Yeah, I like what you said. Yeah, I think that was actually a good thing they did with the percentages, depending on how many factions you hold. 100% if you have 4.
Yeah,
I think it was like 50% if you had 3. Maybe 20% if you had 2, and like 7% or something if you had 1.
Yeah.
So I do think
I forgot they already did it.
Yeah. That was with the the initial crystal airdrop. So I think that was a good method they used with the percentages.
Yeah.
Because you were guaranteed the crystal if you had 4, but you also it included the people who weren't able to get their hands on.
That's such a good point.
On all 4, if you got 3 and you just maybe couldn't just afford that 4th, you still had a chance at getting a crystal. And there was people in the Discord I've chatted with that received a crystal with only 1, gecko or 2 geckos. So I think that's a great point Antsy brings up. And everything we're saying, everything you bring up, everything we're saying now, I'm hoping to get in front of the team. We're actually recording this right now. So if there is something you really want to get out and you have some suggestions, you have some recommendations, feel free to come up, feel free to talk, because I'm going to do my best to get these ideas and opinions in front of the team.
I just love that point that Anstey brought up, though, about the multipliers. And, we just had, they already had the percentages with the crystals and stuff like that. But, I mean, this is almost the roadmap for how you define the utility of the 4 faction, right? You define it as high, so whatever it is. Okay, well, what does that mean for everything else? Well, it means you can still progress in the project in whatever way that means, but your percentages are a little bit lower, or you have a multiplier, like the Concordians, for example. If you got 20, for me specifically, if you got a bag of a Concordians, a hot bag, if you're a fan of the project, that should be rewarded in some way, and I think Antsy, his recommendation about the multipliers based on what type, or maybe a tribute or faction, where the case is, that's a way to get there. Define it based on those things.
Do you think kind of reneging on the conch utility would make the team look a little bad? I mean, they pretty much hammered that it was a gift. It's not going to have any utility. I think it'd kind of look bad if we started with 4 factions and no utilities for the conch, then went to 1 faction, and then went back to 4 faction and added utility to the conch. I think it would kind of look a little undecisive.
Personally, Gig, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Answer that. Personally, I don't care, because I think we should be more worried about like making this really work, as as far as like people get bought about this now. Like, again, I think they really put something out. Like they're saying like this is a fluid situation. Like I think they finally just acknowledged that, guys, we're making this shit up as we go along, because we're so like intrigued by how well the community's responded to the project, that we really want your feedback. So for me personally, I don't think it's a huge. I don't personally care. Like, and B, I don't think they care. And C, I think they just want the community to get this stuff going, and make changes that's going to be in the best interest of the community. The project, the community driving a project to make sure that the project is in the best interest of the people that are holding it, right?
Yeah, so I see I personally like Antsy said, I personally, I mean, I wouldn't really mind, but I do see what Zach is saying, kind of going back and forth, like, oh, Concordians aren't used for anything. Oh, now they are. Oh, now they're maybe not. Now they are. I think Draper said on an interview, one of his interviews, that they don't want to bring too many different aspects of utility in here and make it confusing for people. Like, oh, you need the Concordians for this now, right? They're focused right now on getting the spaceships out.
Yeah.
Right. Successfully working the utility in for those spaceships, allowing us to customize them and getting them out to the community, and then eventually integrating them with whatever they have, whatever game or whatever they have moving on up. Right. So I personally think that they're not going to dabble too much with the Concordians, depending on what they said. You know, maybe like we always say, maybe they will, but I personally think they're, you know, more focused on geckos, spaceships, and providing the utility that they have planned in for those. It keeps it a little bit more simple.
Yeah.
And yeah, anyone else can go ahead if they want to comment on that.
I mean, but Gig, don't you think they're most focused on making sure the project is 100% successful and that the holders are, you know, are happy, like are getting the most value for everything that they create? I mean, they got a listing for, you know, like Conks are listed. They're like a real life listed NFT. Like, it's not like I keep feeling like everyone wants to treat Conks like they're just some like trash thing that I'm gonna hang.
I gotta get this guy on the
like,
fucking. Yeah, this is exactly what I'm saying. Every
you
day
and Tyler
I call up Gig, I say this.
Yeah.
Like the Concordians. All right, this is gonna be this is like an aside, by the way. But like, you know, the Concordians, people hate on those cons, but I love them. All right, yeah, but no, all right. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no, Antsy and Tyler would have a real big Concordian talk together. Yeah. No, I agree, Antsy. I think, you know, obviously, yeah, they want their holders happy. They want the best, what's in mind for everyone. But I think what they have in mind is successfully and in a timely manner getting the spaceships out and getting the full utility for those spaceships out, functioning in the manner they want, and successfully doing that. And I'm sure that's a very, very hard task to pull off. I mean, they essentially were kind of pioneering the connecting your wallet to their website and dragging and dropping to get the crystals. I mean, it ultimately ended up being an airdrop, but they, you know, they have some big things they're doing, and I would love to see. Obviously, we'd all love to see the Concordians floor moon. We would, obviously, but I think they're just focused on the fundamentals right now for the project, which is spaceships, airdrop, customization, and doing that successfully. And if they have to totally focus on that right now for the time being to make that successful, then I think that they would have the best interest in mind of the community.
Yeah.
And not tying too much of their time into maybe a side thing for the Concordians.
It has really been impressive what they're able to accomplish, especially with they're striving for. I mean, it is novel. Everything they're doing is innovative, and it's different from any other project with like the spaceship, and then, you know, the whole storyline and the 4 factions to begin with. So I agree.
I'll jump in here. So 2 things. I'll do the less controversial one first. So just another idea for like benefit of 4 factions. So they've already announced 1 piece of ship per gecko, 1 special piece per crystal. So an added benefit for 4 factions, which I think would be cool, is you're guaranteed a full ship as opposed to getting like 3 tails and then having to find a head and body.
Love that. Love that.
So that's one thing. And then
you're speaking our language over here.
So I'll switch to the controversial part now. I'm not as big a fan of Concordians. I think they should just. It feels like it causes a little too much distraction and diversion, even though they're like the low key entry point. But if there was any utility, I think it would just be one last hurrah where the utility is we burn them to get something else.
He wants to burn the conchs.
I don't know if I'd ever.
Hold on, man.
I don't know if I'd ever burn a conch.
He wants to burn the conchs. Guys, are you hearing this?
It's a pretty creative idea.
He wants to burn the conchs. He wants to burn the conchs because he didn't have 4 geckos at
Antsie's not gonna be happy about that.
No, he's not.
I'm actually down to 12 geckos now. So I mean, I've had all the conchs and crystals. I mean, I'm good to go.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of the point where there's too many pieces of the puzzle right now, where we want benefit for a gecko, benefit for a crystal, benefit for 4 factions. And then we want to bring Concordians into the mix also.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I think it's a lot. I think.
Look, dude.
Go ahead.
There's going to be a lot more. I mean, if we talk about getting into a game, like I know that Mario Kart was mentioned. All right, so like let's just talk about what that could look like, right? Because you can start to use these different things again as multipliers or as airdrops to win a race, right? You get a bomb that you could throw. You get something that helps you get back up to the front of the race if you're too far behind. Like
blue shell,
different pieces dropped.
Yeah.
Right. Like right. You get the blue shell of death kind of deal, right? Like having these like main components, right? Like what's the main component? A 4 factions, a main component. A gecko's the star. Having a 4 faction is having a full squad's the main component. Having a crystal, having a Concordian, like okay, those are the main components. And again, like I go back to my multiplier idea. I really think the multiplier idea works because these things are in place. No, I don't want to just burn something that like I held on to other things to get, and then it's just like I don't want to burn it. I can't stand looking at something that could have value, like just be burned. Because ultimately, all these things have no value unless we assign the value to them and unless other people see value in them.
I would love to see.
I feel like this is an important thing for us to do is to just get set on what it looks like. Like what does this do for me? What does that do for me? What does having this do? Really do.
You're breaking up a little bit.
So far off. The concept.
Yeah, you're going in and out a little bit just towards the end there.
Yeah, the last sentence or two. Okay, we can temporarily we'll move on, I guess.
We can't hear you that well. There.
Yeah, I think it all comes really down, and I think I see Matt's point though is like.
Yeah, I do see.
I'm a Concordian coming from a Concordian maximalist. Like it does make sense. Like do you really want to give that much value to this? In my opinion, I think what Antsy was getting at, I hope he can come back on and clarify, is that I think he was saying basically like it needs to be well defined what if there is any utility. If there's not, say it now, because otherwise you don't want to risk burning something that has value. Well, if it comes back at some point later,
they've said there's no utility.
Yeah. They said day one the 4 factions was for the crystal. It wasn't for the conchs. The conchs was a gift. They said that it was just a gift from day one. The 4 factions was all for just guaranteeing yourself a crystal. The conchs were from day one. They have never wavered from that. It was a gift as an NFT gift. That's it. It wasn't meant to have.
When I say sorry, Ant, we can hear. Sorry, I just want to clarify one thing. When I say sorry, it came out bad, I guess. But what I'm trying to say, I guess, is that it would be nice to because this whole 4 faction talk. It would be nice if they had been able to clarify in the beginning, what the actual value and utility of these 4 factions would be, and then in regards to the Concordians, they've said no utility for the Concordians.
Yes,
but like if they just said no, moving forward there will never be in any way because we're speculating on burning and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, from the very beginning, for everyone who's listening who may not know, they did say the Concordians have absolute zero utility.
Yeah. And I think I'd have to agree with Matt on this a little bit, that we don't want to get ourselves tied up with too many things needing too much utility.
Yeah.
Right? We were one of the first projects in Solana out there with multiple different sets of NFTs in our collection, right? We had the geckos and the crystals and the Concordians, right? We, at the same time, want to keep it somewhat simple and somewhat easy to follow. When someone joins into the geckos, we already have a lot of people joining in kind of confused on what the crystal is and why they need the crystal, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people are coming in going, oh, I got my gecko, I need a crystal too. Why do I need the crystal? What's the crystal?
Yeah.
If we on top of that go, oh, also, you know what? You need a Concordian too, actually. This is going to be, we don't want it to be too much, right? We kind of want, I think, at least in my opinion, we want some sort of relatively easy thing to follow, some easy scope to follow, concrete, here's what you need, here's what you're going to get.
Yeah, because like the speculation about the Concordians, at least from my point of view, like the way I view Concordians as maximalist is, like
Maxi
is if they literally had a storyline of the geckos and them, because they're slowing up, like they're slowly releasing the storyline here and there, but it was very well defined, like either through a game or a little not manga, but like a little short story or something. Like here's kind of the outline of what everything lies, and then you can take a better speculative guess on what anything might become of that.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, you sound a little better.
Okay, cool. So like, do you guys celebrate Christmas?
I do.
Did he say what? Did he what?
He said, "Do we celebrate Christmas?" He's coming. You coming with the analogy here?
He said, "Do we celebrate Christmas?"
I mean,
Christmas, right?
Oh,
yeah.
Christmas.
Right.
Oh, sorry about that.
Like,
well, I actually have to. I don't actually. This year, I'm actually not. I'm actually celebrating Geckmas.
Yeah. 480 neon.
Good for you. Even better. Even better. So like, when you celebrate Christmas, like, you get a gift from people, right? You get gifts from people, and right, like, and so if somebody gave you a gift, and we're all in that gift, did they give you a gift?
I can't hear him at all.
We're losing you. Sorry, man. Sorry, Antsy. We're losing you.
You got to get on.
I know you're down in the dungeon putting like the pieces together.
Yeah, switch from T-Mobile or get out of that detective.
Sorry.
Hold on.
Maybe the conch can increase the cell reception.
Yo, is that better?
That's all right. Go for it. Go for it. Go for it.
Go ahead.
Okay. No,
Oh my God. He went right
Sorry,
back into the
Antsy. I'm
dungeon,
sorry,
right
man.
Back into the dungeon.
I'm sorry, man. We just really can't hear you. You're going in and out. Anyone else while he tries to get that situated?
I feel like he's been
anyone else here? We got some heavy hitters on here. We got Trap. We got Lettuce
let's
Cat.
hear from Trap.
We got
Trap's
Courtney
our
out
whale.
here. We got Mac out here.
Yeah, and if anyone has a dissenting point of view, feel free to say
we want
something.
devil's advocates.
Yeah.
We want everyone's perspective. We want everyone's input. We want to get feedback from the community. As many ideas as we can get out there. You can potentially now is your time to potentially influence the future of this project and what direction it takes. So please feel free to voice anything you have. Oh, and we got a request from Antsy.
Antsy, let's see if you have enough bandwidth. You still dealing with DSL over there or what?
He's got the Yahoo Mobile. All right.
Yahoo Mobile.
All right,
can you fucking hear me, please?
Go for it. Go for it. Christmas. Go.
Geckmas.
Okay. Ho. Here we go. So, like, if you get a gift from somebody and the gift isn't worth anything, is it a gift or is it trash?
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. You got to balance it out here. Ultimately, the market's going to decide. If you're getting a Christmas gift, it's kind of whether you want to treat it as trash or you want to prescribe value to it.
And so we have something already. It's not that we're getting something where we're asking for it. It's already here. It's already built out. It's already got its own marketplace. Like, it's already ready to be sold. It's just like everything else. It's a JPEG of nothing that we all create value in some kind of arrangement with. Like, we create some kind of value, somebody else agrees to the value of X, and then that's what the value is. We have something already. There's no reason to throw it away. Like why would we do that? Again, we could just use the multiplier idea. We can use the multiplier idea, and we can use the put it in a ship idea, and we could use the have 4 factions, get a whole ship. Oh, by the way, you got a Concordian for having 4 factions in a crystal or whatever the hell it was before. And so now that Concordian can go inside your ship, and it gives you a multiplier. So you got a rarer ship piece to put in there on top of it, and your geckos aren't locked down. Your Concordian's driving your ship. Like for me, and then to go into the storyline, it just simplifies everything. It's like, why do I need this? Why do I need that? You don't need shit. You need a gecko, right? And then everything else is a multiplier of the gifts. We'll call them gifts, right? I'm really big into gifts right now, right? So like a multiplier of the gifts that you're going to get, like, for being in this project. The star of it is a gecko. Everything after that you get, it just enhances the whole experience, right? And
okay, so you want them to keep working those percentages in, basically, with what you're holding.
I feel like that's the simplest way to be able to describe the project to somebody, and to be able to, for everybody to just grasp it moving forward. I don't see a simpler way.
I really like the idea of the percentages and multipliers. I do. But I from the dissenting point of views on the Concordian talk, I'd like to hear from the other two on would anyone have a problem if the Concordians added value only to people with 4 factions, since they were given to only those 4 factions?
So I can jump in, because I actually brought up this point in the Neon Citadel. Because I was trying to argue for giving Concordians some use case. And some of the guys said, based off what the devs said, they don't have any value. They've already sold all their Concordians. So
just because they don't own any doesn't mean nobody else can fucking care about them.
No, I mean, I
know, but if you think back to, like, since launch, crystals were part of the story. They're always part of the story. 4 faction was originally part of the story, but they got rid of it. But conks were never really part of the story as far as triggering airdrops or anything like that. There was never any use case for them to begin with. Yeah.
So now what's the difference? Like, they're there. It's more work to burn them than it is to not burn them. Like, it's literally more work to just burn the whole collection than it is to say this is worth something now, right?
Yeah, we don't have to burn them, but they just don't have any utility. They're just pets, like what they've been saying all along.
Yeah, I think
what's the difference if we all agree that they have value and now they're a little bit more valuable, like, or not, right? I believe the difference is, if you say they're not valuable, they're not valuable, and we're the ones deciding the value here. We're having a conversation around value.
And people in the markets, I see both sides. I just think the market's kind of spoken, right? Some people are selling their conks off maybe to buy more geckos.
Yeah.
Because they've heard from the team that they're just a gift. Here's your gift. The market's going to decide how much these are worth. And maybe they feel like their money is better off in geckos or crystals that they think will be here longer term. I mean, we could all go, everyone start buying conks. Let's sweep the conk floor. Let's pump the conks up, right? But we're kind of just operating. It's almost more like the profile picture derivative aspect, where it's like sweep the floor, sweep the floor, sweep the floor. These are valuable. These are valuable. These are valuable. But the geckos, we've kind of built such a great project and a great foundation off of offering utility, fundamentals, putting out what the team promises, and providing that to the holders, right? If they straight up said to us, look, guys, these were a gift. They're not going to offer utility. It's just like a little pet for your gecko gift thing, right? We can try to pump it as much as we want, but ultimately, I think the market and I think this community is going to decide that they may not be worth as much, because This community is known for being in this project because we're here long term. We think there's going to be utility. We think there's a game coming out.
Absolutely.
Right? We're not like the derivative style project that just pumps stuff. So I think you might be creeping up a little bit more towards that way of thinking. And don't get me wrong, dude. Don't get me wrong. I don't want you to get me wrong. We're conk maxis.
I mean,
we're conk maxis.
Maximalists
Okay.
over here.
But I just think the market may not view them that way right now with the geckos.
Look, the dev team clearly pivoted has pivoted multiple times, and and again they've called this now a fluid situation, which I think we should really look at, right? And so they pivoted in a big respect, I feel, because they want to make sure that the most amount of people can have access to entry into the community. So we break the 4 faction thing up. It's a little too expensive, blah blah blah. The Concordians offer a terrific opportunity to do exactly what the dev team wants to do by offering a low point of entry, and as long as us as the community can agree what the fuck they're supposed to be doing while they're here, we could just give them this little utility thing that could link people in the community together by taking a Concordian and saying, if you have a whole squad and you have the whole squad and you have a Concordian, well, the Concordian can get held in the spaceship. Like, you want to talk about I know we talked about like the barrier to being partners. It's not a barrier if you have this thing that's worth next to nothing that you stick in the ship, and it's like, oh, I'm going to throw my conch in there, and you hold your gecko, I hold my gecko, and we just tell the dev team to look at these 2 wallets. It's like, okay, look at these 2 wallets, and when you're doing the drop, I mean, we can work this out. Like, I feel like I don't feel like it's another derivative. I feel like these are the pieces that we've had. Like the conchs are supposed to be like, open the garage door and see this cool thing. Like,
oh yeah,
they're not nothing, man. Like,
if you read the lore, I mean, they're the creators of the universe.
We have
these are fucking the creators of the universe. And we're telling them they don't have any value.
we have key dot soul here that may want to say something.
Hey, what's happening, guys? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Awesome. Yeah, so I just wanted to chime in. I think what the team is really trying to do is create something that'll allow every NFT project to essentially be able to sit down and steer. I don't think we should be so focused on conch utility when the team has said that there is going to be no utility for the conchs.
Okay.
Yeah, and
that's pretty well said.
Yeah.
Just burn them. Burn them then. I don't want it. Burn.
I'll take them.
Burn.
Hey, you list them at less than 1 soul. I'll just capture.
Yeah, we're trying. Let me reel us in. Let me reel us back in. We have a good amount of speakers up here now. Let me reel us in. We have Gil, and I'll give you a chance to speak in a second here.
Yeah, I think we should let's time box this for another 5 minutes, and then
we're going to try to just reel this back in. We've been on the Concordians for a while. We want to, main thing, 4 factions.
Yeah.
How much utility should they have?
Mm-hmm.
Possible things possible utility that they could offer, and what we think would be best for the community and best for the project.
I never thought that Concordians would ever derail a conversation.
Concordians can derail any spaces.
They created the universe, for God's sake. They can do anything.
Let's get back
into
I don't see Gil anymore. Maybe he dropped off. But if anyone else wants to, maybe Key or anyone else new or anyone else that wants to pop in, what do you see? What would you like to see these 4 factions used for? What strategy would you like to see them using?
And just to recap, just for everyone, maybe they joined late. I think we've all agreed there's some utility, at least there should be. Most of us, I think, have said that there should be high utility. There's been some talk about having fear or not. Whether or not that's going to lead to weaker hands if we don't have high utility for those 4 factions, whether we can kind of concentrate them. And we've kind of derailed the Concordians a bit, just because we're kind of speculating. If the last time 4 factions were a thing, you were going to give it or sorry, the last time we were given the Concordians. What is utility? How does that relate to the 4 factions? And now we're still going back to the 4 factions.
If you are hopping in, or just quickly, we covered that. We covered do we want no utility, some utility, or high utility?
Exactly.
What range of utility would we prefer for the 4 factions? Would it be an airdrop? Would it be a piece of a ship? Access to more lore items. We also wanted to touch on maybe possible like tier levels or Discord roles. I'm not sure. If you would like, if you do hold the 4 factions, would you like a role in the Discord? Or just a little thing next to your name that shows that you do hold the 4 factions. I know some people may like that. Something that's pretty easy to do, that can kind of just show like, I got 4 factions, So
the way I think about it is, I guess you can relate it to like a concert. Like a gecko is a ticket. Maybe the crystal is like VIP or something, and then 4 factions would be backstage passes.
Okay, you're coming up with real good analogies here tonight, Matt. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
This guy's great.
Yeah. I think you can almost interchange crystal and 4 faction. I just don't know what the devs have for crystals, but I mean, right off the get-go, it would make sense that a crystal might be needed to combine a ship. Just because it kind of seems like a key, whereas 4 factions don't make sense for like being able to combine to create a ship.
So you're thinking you're going to need the crystal to power that machine to create the ship?
Yeah, I'm just giving a use case because the devs like Draper, Ali, they haven't really mentioned what crystals are used for in the future, but that would actually make sense. Like if you were trying to figure out what should be used where, it's kind of like the crystal is a key for certain things, and then 4 faction would be like maybe extra bonus.
It's almost like the fuel, I guess, the thrusters or something, like just the magical part that powers it. Yeah.
I like that idea a lot, man. I think that's something that they could go with because we don't really know a whole lot of utility now for the crystals. Other than that, we got another derivative, and the team has emphasized the crystals having great value down the road. So maybe perhaps to be able to create the ship, you'll be required to hold a crystal. I don't know. Something to think about.
Yeah, I like that. I like what Matt said, and I agree with both you guys. That would be really cool. We also have one engineer just hopped in as a speaker. Maybe
that's great. I mean,
he's an OG.
He was throwing hundreds in the chat.
I have to first off just give a shout out to one engineer he sent me over the Santa hat Gex. I mean, he did like hundreds of them, like 200 of them.
I hope you were the program for it.
It was like it was incredible. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, it was actually mostly manual. The first day that I was doing them too, like my fingers actually kind of hurt after a while. And then it wasn't until the second day that I got like a system down, or like in Photoshop, I would have different layers for like different hats with the different like helmets and ears and stuff.
Oh wow!
And so that helped a lot.
Wow, yeah. Well, props to you.
That was just a few hundred photos. Imagine centuries of work building spaceships like the Concordians.
Go ahead. Anyway, go ahead.
So, quick personal anecdote on the original full faction thing. Like I built the four faction thing, and that was kind of like a big thing for me. And so like when I saw that other people with like one gecko were getting the same airdrop as I did, like personally I was a little salty, and I actually withdrew from like Discord and participation for like 3 days until I kind of got over it. And like I was happy for people who did get the airdrops, but to me, like I kind of felt like, oh, I built this full team and like went to the trouble and expense of that, and there I was. And so like going forward, like for me, I believe that if a team wants to reward full team builders, full team wallets, like they should go ahead and do that, but without giving like a watered down version of the same thing to other people, even if it's at a lower probability, because when they do that, they completely undermine like the full team benefit that they intended to reward.
So you're actually of the opinion
the
the
specifics on that,
percentages.
like I don't know what that would be. Like maybe airdrop, maybe it's a perk, maybe it's a giveaway, maybe it's like early access, maybe like you said, it's like a special like skin or something. But yeah, that's just
so you're actually of the opinion that the percentages actually, you weren't a fan of that. You didn't want. I guess you like the fact that if there's.
I like what you said, and I'll go back to using the fucking multiplier idea, and nobody feels any kind of way. It's just here's my gecko. When I have a gecko and a crystal, I know that whatever's coming, I get 1.2x, blah blah, right down the road, right? And if you don't want to add Concordians onto the end of that because you just have a hatred for Concordians for some reason, then we can leave the Concordians out. Like, I'm okay with that. But, like, just know that, like, we could do something with them and you guys choose to not do a goddamn thing and just burn those little bastards.
Hey, and maybe let's chill on the cursing, bro. We have people that aren't in the Geck, listening in, and I want to scare them off, We don't want to seem like we're angry.
Oh, okay. I'm just messing around, guys.
I know. I mean, I'm just as fired up as you are about Concordians specifically.
Yeah, I get fired. I know. It's probably just your dialect because I got to hold myself back from from cursing too. But we actually have Gil that may give us a different perspective here. Gil, what do you have to say about this? Can you hear me?
Gil, you there? Looks like Gil is.
Gil?
Gil's
I don't
not.
know. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing.
We'll let him chime in if you want. So,
minor little throwback to what Matt said about the concert. I thought that was a great kind of metaphor or analogy.
Yeah. And it could even be a real life thing, right?
That was spot on to what I think would be.
Some of these NFT projects have
proper and would benefit the whole ecosystem.
Yeah. And I mean, that was a metaphor, but it could be a physical, real thing, assuming the project succeeds, all that stuff. I mean, assuming that, there could be a thing where, you get backstage passes.
Do you remember what the original percentages were for getting a crystal drop when you had 4 factions or 3 or 2 or 1?
I believe it was 100 for 4, 50 for 3, 20 for 2, and 7 for 1, I believe.
I mean, was there anything wrong with that? Like, that seems perfect to me.
That seemed yep. I like that. You can elaborate more on that if you want. But I liked it.
No, it's just I totally agree that I got I was a little bit. I had a 4 faction team too. That you spent a little bit of money and you get a little bit angry if somebody got it when they only had 1. But that was they had a really low percent chance, and that was the way to keep everybody involved, but also reward the 4 faction holders.
Yeah, because look, we're in the NFT space, and we do know a lot of these projects, how a lot of these projects go. Luck comes into play. When you're minting a project, your buddy next to you who's first minted he may mint a neon. You may be sitting there all day and mint commons, right? We've all accepted that there's some luck that comes into play here in crypto and the NFT space, right? So if somebody only has a 7% chance and they get that percent, they get that airdrop, then great for them, right? But obviously if you have 3 or 4, you're going to have a 50%, 60%, maybe even 100% chance at getting this because you went out of your way to get the 4 factions. So I do agree with Zachary with some of those percentages. Maybe if you do have the 4 factions, you get 100% chance of getting this specific ship or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I
wonder. I mean, I heard I forget who it was, but they said that they were salty that someone got it was
engineer. I think.
Engineer. Yeah. One engineer. Are you still there? How do you feel about are you still feeling that type of way about percentages? I mean, I think that's the only person I've heard say there was a little bit. I guess everyone kind of said they were salty about it, but they did understand. Do you still agree with that, one engineer?
I don't know if I have a hard opinion on that anymore. At the time, though, because originally I believe it was only full teams were going to get the crystal, and then there was some hubbub in Discord about like, oh, well, I have one gecko and it's basically useless. And so then the team relented and like gave those probabilities to like other wallets. I haven't thought a lot about that kind of setup.
Oh, but your perception, I guess, changed though, because you originally were salty, but now you kind of are a little bit more understanding of it.
Yeah, and like I know they gave full teams a shot at a bonus crystal, and then also I think a bonus Concordian, and I got neither.
Okay.
And so
Gotcha.
and I know some wallets that were like stiff even more than I did, but like they had like 4 full teams and like they had 0 bonus.
Okay.
And so like obviously that results in like more crystals and like more dilution and like but the other point about having like the one gecko, like you're still in the concert and like you're still like part of the community, and if you choose to like fight your way up to the front, now you're having this like awesome experience still because you're like participating.
Yeah,
and so
if it's percentage,
I really like that concert metaphor.
You can still
like, rewards the people who like want to be like really dedicated and like super into the geckos. But everyone is like at the show basically.
One quick question for you, engineer. So was it the percentages that rubbed you the wrong way, or was it just like the whole last minute change?
I think it was both. Because like initially, like I personally built the 14 thing, or the full team thing, because I thought that was like the only way I was getting a crystal. And so, and then like there was like numbers thrown out about like how many crystals there would be. And then that shifted when like everyone had a shot at a crystal, and then there was bonus crystals, and I got neither.
Well, let me ask you, one engineer, then.
So,
would you have been upset? I guess.
I mean, part of that though is like a little unavoidable. Like somebody said, with NFTs and minting, there's like some luck and probability involved, and so like sometimes it's just luck of the draw, and like you'll get a neon, you'll get a common if you mint, and so like some of that's unavoidable. Like nobody's gonna be 100% happy. But at the end of the day, like I believe if you want to reward the people who are like super dedicated, like do that without watering it down.
I would love a thought experiment with that,
100%,
though.
That's a really good point. You don't want to discourage the people that took the time and really dedicated themselves to the project. That kind of seems like the opposite of what you would want to do.
Yeah. I wanted to. I agree. If someone, we have one more person here maybe to speak. If you want to elaborate on that, we have our head Gek in charge here, Courtney. If you want to elaborate on anything, or
hey,
hi.
Hey, oh, I was just thinking. So I only have one Geket, and I remember when the whole faction thing happened with the crystal potential and all that. I never felt like I was like missing out. I mean, it made me want to get more geckos, but there's still so much that you get just to have a gecko. So I personally wasn't like, I know there was like a tiny chance I could get one, but I'm personally like okay with not being able to have the chance if I don't own more geckos. Like I think it is good to reward people for being more invested in the project.
Yeah, but you felt like you were getting good value still out of having the one gecko, you know?
Oh yeah, of course, because it's like there's already all this stuff going on. You know, you still have the lore, you still have the meetups, you still have the Discord, you still, you know, this is just like an even other thing that we're adding on. Like it just keeps adding more and more. Yeah. So, and that actually got me more obsessed with the geckos because then I'm like, oh, I can build a whole team, and then I can, you know, and like, I mean, it hasn't happened for me yet, but it got me more excited and hyped in general, because then it became more like a story that you had some control over, and like, I don't know. But I think that like lots of people are gonna be like fine just having one, and then some people are gonna want to go all in, and I think it's good to have like a range of people like in the project.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's like I love what you just said, Courtney, and like it's definitely important to remember that like one, that like everybody's still at the concert, metaphorically speaking, and two, like whatever benefit there would be to people who are like like more invested into the geckos, like that doesn't like shut everybody else out.
Sorry, I think I accidentally muted. Sorry. Yeah, keep going. Sorry, I meant to hit somebody's request. Go ahead. One engineer if you want. You might have to unmute yourself. I think I accidentally muted you. Sorry, I think I accidentally muted you. One engineer.
Oh.
I was trying to get.
I think you muted everybody. It said everyone is now.
Yeah,
muted.
sorry. I was trying to accept a request from somebody. Go ahead.
I think we left off with the concert metaphor part.
Oh, so yeah, the second part was, what was the second part actually? Yeah, that kind of threw me off a little bit. I'll remember and I'll pick up again.
Yeah, sorry. I was trying to, for some reason, the mute everyone button is right next to the request button when someone comes in. But
oh, I just thought of it. So I guess the second part was like having that kind of situation where like you're rewarding people who are more invested, but not watering that down. That doesn't necessarily shut out everybody else. Because as we saw with the crystals and concordians, like they're still fairly attainable on secondary if they do choose to participate that way.
Yeah.
But the most important thing, and like what kind of Courtney like eloquently like said, was you're still at the concert. You're still like part of the community. You're still like going to the meetups and like hanging out in the garage. And really, that's the most valuable thing, really.
And he loves the concert analogy.
I mean, I like
I
it
love
too.
I do like it. It is good.
It's such a good analogy.
It is good.
Yeah.
We had Alex just hop in.
Yeah. Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it took me weeks now to figure out that I needed to download the app instead of just use my computer to talk. So here we go. I'm finally on Spaces.
Awesome.
So yeah, I think I don't know who remembers like the actual system, but they were going to allow people to build their 4 factions over time. So the crystals, you know, they had a release date for the crystals, but they were going to allow you to obtain the 4 factions up to like an unknown date. So as crystals started to come out, they could come on secondary markets, but you could either choose to buy it on the secondary market, or you can have time to accomplish that 4 faction team, which to me was really appealing because it's kind of like, well, if you start off with 1, you'd still have that entry point. You'd still have time to build up to it. Or you could pay a premium to kind of jump the gun and get right to the crystal. And then, you know, I think a lot of people really wanted to get the crystal so bad they kind of pushed for a different direction, especially with the way that they couldn't crank out the tool that they originally wanted to use. So that kind of, I think, set all the things in motion that, you know, we currently have today. But I think if we can go back to that point in time, to me, that was what was exciting because I had 3 at the time and I kept thinking, oh, well, I have months to get the 4th one. I can kind of sit back here. I don't need to get it on day 1, you know. I certainly didn't mind not having the benefits right away because I was in an in-between state, you know, whereas I kind of lost out on both sides of the possible benefits. But going forward, I certainly don't mind reintroducing the 4 faction is a benefit to people that have been in the project long term or right now. I mean, the price is much lower to obtain a forefaction than it was before. And I think I said earlier, my handle in Discord is White Oat Chocolate, so I'm sure you guys probably see me under a different name.
Yeah, and White Oat Chocolate, I just want to let you know, you have a beautiful stoned spectral gecko. Just like, it's just a beautiful gecko to look at.
Thank you. I don't know if you've seen the Santa version I made, where I made it all red, black, and green, but I can repost that if you want.
I was actually this is really an aside here, but I was thinking it would be funny if you had a stone gecko and he was driving the spaceship. If there was some like weird thing that happened with that, where you can't drive, like DUI or something.
Like the DUI.
Yeah, that'd be pretty. I thought that'd be pretty cute.
Nice.
But, yeah.
So
I feel like there's a lot of endless possibilities of where they can go now. I think they even mentioned that originally they weren't looking to do a game, out of this, but they pivoted, and I really appreciate the fact that not only were they so transparent about that, but that they did pivot. I do see a lot of devs that don't pivot from their personal original plans, and their projects, are in a lot worse of a position right now than ours.
Great point.
So a lot of times in this space, things change within a couple hours, and we like to really knock devs in general and pinpoint issues and ways we can improve, but we don't always give the kudos. So I definitely want to give, I don't think any of them are in here right now, but I definitely want to give kudos to them for that.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I appreciate you saying that, because I agree. We at the end of the day, we do have our criticisms and what we would like to see, but I think this team overall is handling this project very well.
Yeah, absolutely.
They have our best interests in mind, and I think whatever decision they make, I think it'll be a solid decision.
I mean, it just goes to show we're having a shouting match over Concordians. I mean, people are the project is.
It's easy to derail us.
Yeah.
You just bring up the conks, and we get derailed. What I want to
yelling? Who's yelling about what?
Let's see. We're gonna start to wrap this up in a bit. I want to just kind of get a general. I want to just go over one or two things and get a general consensus. So, I'm gonna list a poll on my Twitter. That's Geck with Gig. That's the little black on black 480 with the Santa hat.
Not Key Soul.
You guys have seen me.
Gig.
Yep. Key Soul's got. Oh, you're right. Key Soul has that same one. You're right. That's fire, Gecko. Okay. No, Geck with Gig. I'm gonna post a poll. It's gonna say forefaction poll or something like that. We're gonna have a few options, maybe just to get a little more feedback from the people who couldn't make it here tonight. We're gonna have the option for no utility, some utility, or high utility.
Okay.
And then maybe an option for indifferent or
other, maybe comment, I guess, obviously.
Maybe comment. Yeah. Well, obviously we'll be taking, you can comment on there as well. Feel free to comment in the Discord, and I'm going to try to get some of this information back to the team, back to the devs, and try to come to some sort of consensus about what the community wants. What I've gathered from tonight is that we for the most part, we liked how they did the crystal drop with the percentages.
Yeah.
Right. For the most part.
Yeah. There was some mixed feelings, but
that was solid. We do want. You know what? Maybe I'll just throw the concert analogy at them.
We'll get.
I'll just say one more person. Kelpie. I know Kelpie wants to get correct me if I'm wrong, Kelpie. You really, really want a gecko. Am I right about that?
No, you're right.
Okay, just checking. If there's anything you want to say while we're here for the next few minutes, go ahead.
I got a question about your poll that you were just saying.
Yeah.
like you were saying, some utility versus like a bunch or none. Like what would some utility kind of look like before? I'm just trying to get grasp of what that would kind of be before voting on it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough on the poll to actually gauge what the community wants to do. I think most of the knowledge I'm going to get to the team is going to be what we discussed tonight. And the potential utility we discussed would basically be you're going to receive, you're going to have an advantage on what you receive and be more likely to receive things, of higher value or more necessary for the project. You're going to be more likely to receive that if you have 4 factions.
Yeah, it might be helpful, Gig, to put that in like a thread on the poll and just define what your kind of idea of each one is, so that it's more specific about like. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe I'll make. Would that help?
Yeah. Because of course it's better, obviously, with all 4. As far as like your chances for the things you guys do in the future and drops and whatever. But it can get really unique, I would think, having like faction exclusive events or giveaways or whatever kind of activity as well.
Okay. I like that. Yeah. So maybe I should incorporate the possibility of organizing faction exclusive, giveaways, hangouts, discords, Citadel, the 4 faction Citadel. Is that what you guys want?
I think as long as you're specific about what each category is, that would be fine.
Yeah. I would want to keep them like tight knit personally, like together. Like I wouldn't want to split up the Discord myself, but it would be cool to say like, oh, there goes such and such faction and they're whatever it is that they like. Maybe they like bingo. Maybe they like, I don't know, poker night.
Yeah.
Maybe they just have like a thing that's like just totally off the wall, just a little doodad thing they do because that's their group and they're rad.
Cool. I really actually, I'm glad you brought that up.
Right.
And I really like that because, we already see little groups popping up within the Gecko community. So you're kind of saying, we have a little clique of the 4 faction group that, maybe would encourage others to get their 4 factions and join that community and see how cool and fun it is.
Right. Yeah. It can be a way to get people to buy each faction because now you have, oh, well, they do this over here on Tuesdays. Oh, well, that faction does this over here on Fridays. Oh, well,
She's talking Citadel.
Yeah. She's trying to get at the Neon Citadel.
She's talking 4 factions Citadel. Yeah. All right. We'll get it set up. We'll get it set up.
Okay.
No, I really like that. Kelpie. Because at the end of the, a good portion of the project is centered around community. So if we can get, a community based thing around the 4 factions, that will also help. And it's not,
and my God, like we could do Gecko Olympics and bring everybody together in tournaments, all the factions later, stuff like that.
Now you're talking big money here.
Now she's talking Open 8.
She's talking Olympics. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Space Olympics.
Okay, Space Olympics. You got some big plans here.
Yeah.
Are you getting the Gecko? Are you getting the Gecko soon? Did you get yourself a Gecko?
Heck yeah. Oh, I'm working on it. Don't y'all worry.
Right, you at least got a Concordian, right?
Yep.
I mean, the floor value.
I'm debating on those. I know I'm going to start with a Gecko and a crystal. I know that.
Yeah, that's smart.
Good call.
That's the way to go.
Very good call.
Yeah.
Have you decided which faction you think you want to go with?
Girl.
Okay.
You know I've got that website pulled up like
girl.
right now.
Okay, to give everyone context, we've been talking all day, and like I'm trying to help her decide which faction to get, and I don't really know what to say because they're like all cool, you know. But
I know. I was like, oh, okay, these Barada dudes. Y'all didn't tell me about these fighters over here. They kind of sound a little like me.
Yeah, it would be nice if they had.
You know?
I just want to let you know you're going to want to probably join Tagari. Just a heads up.
Black on black.
Black on
See,
black,
this is
yeah.
what I'm wanting to hear.
Let's be,
Fight, people, fight. Tell me who I need to get.
yeah.
Allura all the way. You have a very dramatic personality.
That is true.
Yeah, you can see the cliques already forming from each each faction group, so that's really cool. And I'm glad you brought up the community aspect, because I'm trying to help drive the Gecko community in the right direction, and I think having that potential 4-faction community will be, it won't aside from the potential drops and stuff you'll get, it'll be an incentive, and it'll create value just being in that community. So
I mean, everybody wants to do what their friends are doing, but you have to kind of say, hey, here's this cool thing for your friends to do.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Is there anyone else before we start wrapping this up? It's been a little while. I got some Geck stuff I got to work on tonight. Before we start wrapping this up, is there anyone else that wants to say anything? Close this out. Is everything we covered here? When I give this back, when I come with some info back to the team, maybe I'm going to show them this video. I'm going to try to show them this whole live space, so I think they'll gather, a lot of info from that.
So, Gig, real quick. So you want, so we came in here. We're going to kind of vote on the 3 levels of utility, right? Like that the 4 factions that we want the 4 factions to have, and it seems like everyone's at the top, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know. I may not even separate it into 3 levels. I think we have the consensus that we want a good amount of utility.
At least some. I think
some
that
utility,
unless someone says something we weren't there, but so that's the consensus.
I think after bringing up the poll and stuff, I don't want to define it in. I don't want it to be defined within a poll. So maybe I'll put that up. I'll give you guys a heads up. But I think what we've gathered is I'm going to give this info to them. I'm going to let them know that we do want at least some utility. Mm-hmm. We are open to having the percentages in mind, like they did with the crystal. You talked about the multiplier, something like that, the percentages, and then.
Like when you go to the concert, it's like similar to winning tickets.
Oh, we got a last minute Fendor appearing. Fendor is a very active community member, heavy hitter. He's a heavy hitter for the Martu faction. Okay, let's let him see what he has to say before we close out.
Yeah, there's just 2 things. I must be the only one in here that doesn't want any 4-faction utility.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I saw the pump and dump happen once. Do we want to keep having that happen? 2, for the person looking for a faction, you should join the Mark II. That's all.
Okay. Maybe I'll discuss with you a little bit further on at some point about the no utility. So we definitely, so we have a lot of different views. We have some who want none. We have some who want a lot. So we're going to give this information back to the team. Guys, thank you for joining in to tonight's Spaces. It's your Culture Gecko here, Gig. We got some exciting things coming up for the Geckos. I'm going to try to get this recording out to you guys as soon as I can. For those who weren't able to make it here, We're here live on the NFT Crypto Crew. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube. That's the NFT Crypto Crew. I'm here with Tyler. Check me out on With Gig at Twitter. We're very bullish. We're bullish on the geckos. You guys know how it goes. I'll see you all in the Discord. Have a fantastic Saturday night. Love you, geckos. See you guys next time.
Night while the moon is my light, I'm in tune with the tune of the gloom in the sky. In the room where you died, I still see your face, looking at the stars in the space, Never